February 1959. The Northern Urals. 9 experienced hikers embark on a trek of the highest difficulty category. They are full of enthusiasm and confident in their abilities, but something went wrong, terribly wrong. Their goal was Mount Otorten. The leader, 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. All participants, students, and graduates of the Ural Polytechnic Institute, experienced skiers and hikers. They were supposed to return by the 12th of February, but they didn't. On the 26th of February, a search party discovered their last camp on the slope of Kholat Syakhl, which in the Mansi language means Mountain of the Dead. The tent was cut with a knife from the inside. Inside, all their belongings, warm clothes, shoes, food. Outside, a chain of footprints leading down into the forest. Barefoot prints in socks, in a single boot, at a temperature of minus 30 degrees Celsius. What could have forced 9 seasoned hikers to flee their only shelter in panic, leaving behind everything necessary for survival? This is the main question that has haunted researchers for decades. Let's go back to the beginning. The expedition started on the 23rd of January. The participants' diaries paint a picture of a hike full of enthusiasm, though not without difficulties. They sang songs, joked, even had a run-in with the police for singing too loudly at the train station in Sarah. On the 28th of January, Yuri Yudin left the group due to an exacerbation of radiculitis. He was the only one who survived. That same day, Zina Kolmogorova wrote in her diary that Igor Dyatlov was rude all evening, a rare hint of possible tension. The 31st of January, the last full day described in the diaries. The weather is worsening, strong wind, deep snow makes movement difficult. Dyatlov writes, "It's hard to imagine such comfort on the ridge, with the piercing howl of the wind, hundreds of kilometers from human settlements." On the night of the 1st of February to 2nd, the group produces a satirical wall newspaper, Evening Otorten. Seemingly an ordinary evening on a hike, but it was their last. The first bodies were found by searchers about 1.5 kilometers from the tent, under a large cedar tree. They were Yuri Doroshenko and Georgy Krivonyshenko. They lay near the remains of a fire, stripped to their underwear. Krivonyshenko had burns in a terrible detail. He was clenching a piece of his own skin from his finger in his mouth. The branches of the cedar were broken up to a height of 5 meters. Cause of death? Hypothermia. Higher up the slope, towards the tent, the bodies of Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin were found. Their postures indicated they were trying to return. Dyatlov lay embracing a birch trunk. Slobodin had a skull fracture, but death also occurred from cold. Dyatlov and Slobodin had abrasions on their knuckles, as if from a fight. The most horrifying finds awaited the searchers only in May, when the snow melted. In a ravine, 75 meters from the cedar, under a 4-meter layer of snow, in a stream, the bodies of Ludmila Dubinina, Semyon Zolotaryov, Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, and Alexander Kolovatov were discovered. They were better dressed, some in the clothes of their deceased comrades. The injuries of these 4 were horrific. Dubinina and Zolotaryov had multiple rib fractures, as if from a blow of immense force, comparable to a car accident, but without external soft tissue damage. Thibault-Brignol had a severe depressed skull fracture. Forensic expert Boris Vozroshteny concluded that such injuries could not have been inflicted by a human. And the most gruesome part, Ludmila Dubinina was missing her tongue. Semyon Zolotaryov, his eyeballs. Whether these mutilations were inflicted before death or were the result of post-mortem animal activity and decomposition in water is still a matter of dispute. The 1959 investigation was led by prosecutor Lev Ivanov, but in May, the case was closed with the finding: the cause of the hikers' demise was an overwhelming force, which they were not able to overcome. This vague wording only raised more questions. The case was classified, and the pass area was closed for 3 years. Other oddities remained in the case. Traces of radioactivity were found on the clothes of some of the deceased, Krivonashenko and Kolovatov. Where did it come from? Georgy Krivonashenko, according to some reports, worked at the Mayak plant and participated in the cleanup of the Kishtim nuclear accident in 1957. Could this be residual radiation? Or was the source different? For example, thorium mantles from camping lanterns, which were common at the time. And one more mystery. Numerous reports of bright flying spheres or orange balls in the sky over the Urals in those days. This was reported by other tourists and the military. Investigator Lev Ivanov himself, years later, in 1990, admitted that his superiors ordered him to forget about these fears. But he believed until the end of his life that they were connected to the tragedy. Over the decades, many theories have emerged. Let's consider the main ones. Theory 1. Avalanche. The official version, especially after the new investigation in 2019 to 2021, an avalanche. In 2021, Swiss scientists Puzrin and Gaum presented a model of a so-called slab avalanche. They suggested that the hikers, by cutting into the slope to set up their tent, triggered the descent of a small but heavy snow slab a few hours later. Under the influence of wind and additional snow, the impact of such a slab on the tent could have caused severe internal injuries to the sleeping people, explaining the rib and skull fractures in some. The others, having escaped serious injury, panicked and fled the tent, eventually freezing to death. This theory explains both the delayed avalanche and the lack of obvious signs of a large avalanche. A small slab could have left inconspicuous traces that were erased over 26 days. A gentle slope? Scientists claim that the local slope could have been sufficient, and slab avalanches can occur on relatively gentle slopes under certain conditions. Why were the items in the tent relatively untouched? Why didn't experienced hikers try to dig out their gear? Why did the footprints, according to some reports, look orderly rather than panicked? And how to explain the radioactivity and the fireballs? Theory 2. Infrasound. American researcher Donnie Eichar, in his book Dead Mountain, suggested the effect of infrasound. The specific shape of the mountain and strong wind could have created a Kármán vortex street, generating infrasound, low-frequency sound, inaudible to the ear but capable of causing panic, nausea, and terror in humans. This could have driven the hikers to irrationally flee the tent. Could infrasound have affected all 9 equally severely? And does it explain the severe physical injuries? There is no direct evidence of infrasound. Theory 3. Military tests. One of the most popular conspiracy theories. The northern Urals region in those years could have been used for secret military tests. The fireballs could have been missile launches or explosions. Radioactivity on clothing, a consequence of these tests. Severe injuries, the result of a shockwave or the impact of unknown weapons. The secrecy of the investigation and the closure of the area also support this version. There is no direct evidence of tests at this specific location and time. No missile fragments or other traces of military equipment were found, apart from disputed reports of metal debris. And again, why only the hikers' tracks? Other theories. There are other theories. An attack by escaped prisoners, local Mansi people, though this was quickly refuted. A fight within the group, and even paranormal versions. An encounter with a UFO or a snowman. But none of them have sufficient evidence. Why, after more than 60 years, does the Dyatlov Pass mystery still excite people around the world? Perhaps it's a combination of factors. The tragic death of young, vibrant people, eerie, unexplained details, the atmosphere of Soviet-era secrecy that always breeds suspicion, and, of course, the lack of a definitive answer. The incident has spawned numerous books, films, and documentary investigations. It has become part of modern mythology, a symbol of humanity's encounter with the unknown and frightening. For Western audiences, this story is particularly intriguing due to the Cold War context. Any mystery from behind the Iron Curtain acquired additional layers of suspicion. What really happened at Dyatlov Pass on that February night in 1959? Was it a rare but deadly avalanche, the effect of infrasound, secret tests, or something even stranger and more terrifying? Despite all the research, the Mountain of the Dead continues to keep its secrets. Perhaps we will never know the whole truth, but the story of 9 brave hikers who faced an overwhelming natural force will forever remain in our memory as one of the most tragic and mysterious pages of history. Which of the many theories seems most plausible to you? What, in your opinion, could have forced experienced hikers to go to certain death? Share your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new investigations into the most mysterious events.